Greetings. Happy hump day, everyone. How's everybody doing today? I'm on a little bit later than normal. I had a lot of spaces I was on today. A lot of deep in stuff is coming up, guys. Some big accounts are talking about deep in. It's pretty exciting stuff. If you're on yesterday, I told you today I would be talking about the biggest limiting factor, the X factor, if you will, in the AI race that a lot of people aren't talking about. Some are, but it's not talked about enough, in my opinion. And that, of course, is the power grid and the electricity behind the AI movement. China's kicking our ass, guys, and it's not great. But, of course, like anything, there's a lot of investment opportunities tied to this. I'm going to cover those today. We're going to do a deep dive. Oh, you said 619 said 40 to 65 cents per kilo. Are you in California, right? You have to be. Guys, on the coast, because I was in the solar industry for a long time, we looked very closely at electric bills. I used to dissect those things all day, every day. California is crazy, and it's also very dependent on what time of the day you use it. It can get up to as high as like 70, 80 cents per kilowatt hour. Just put that in perspective. If you're in the Midwest, that's about 10 times the cost of electric on the coast. It's pretty crazy. But it's more so, the costs are going up for sure, but it's more so the grid just can't handle the amount of power that these AI data centers need. They draw a tremendous amount of electricity. So what we're going to do today, of course, we're going to cover some broader news. There's a couple of big stories we need to cover, but we're going to dive into how China is generating their electricity, where the U.S. is starting to build their infrastructure, and what is coming next, okay? There's some dark horse candidates as far as where our power is going to come from that I think have been beaten down because of some of the regulatory stuff this year that I think could be a good investment. You guys know how I feel about nuclear. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I'd have said nuclear is dead. Obviously, things have shifted, but we're going to do a deep dive into that. We're also going to talk about the deep in opportunities that come with it, because I think decentralized compute has the ability to be the big winner here in the AI race, particularly when it comes to leveraging edge compute. And it kind of all connects. It's all interconnected, guys, in this discussion. We're going to talk about a project that Tyler has been bringing up too. Okay. Of course, I'm talking about USD.ai. Pretty exciting stuff happening there as well. I see Tyler out there. What's up, sir? Bob in Washington, 16 cents. That's not bad, actually. You know what's crazy, though, is that in Illinois here, because I sold solar, I managed a lot of accounts, did a lot of consulting. Towards the end of my time at the solar company I was at, I managed like 10 states, and I think I had some like 50 business owners I was working with. Our electric costs here were about 7 to 8 cents when I first started in 2019. Towards the end of my time there, about a year and a half ago, it was up to about 17 cents. It was up over 100% in that 3-year period. And we're now seeing, with these data centers being built out and the amount of electric they're drawing, they're pushing rates up. So it's not a great situation. But again, I think there are some really good investment opportunities around this, both in crypto, also in the energy infrastructure side. So we're going to dive into all that, guys. But happy hump day, man. September 3rd. Hard to believe. Summer is like over. I'll tell you what. It is rainy out right now in Chicago. It's officially pumpkin spice latte season. So I've been told. It is. It's PSL season, guys. I want to start off, though. This is crazy. With this is a little bit of a warning to all. When you're in public settings, be careful when you connect to public Wi-Fi. Check this shit out. This is wild.
So by using something like this, I can get somebody to log in to what they believe is a Google login panel that's not real, and I can grab their credentials with this small device. Check this out. So from here, I'm broadcasting a network called free Wi-Fi, which is going to show up on this person's device, and you'll see here that there'll be a free Wi-Fi, obviously with a bunch of others. As soon as he connects to that, a portal is going to pop open like you would see at a Starbucks or anywhere else. And it's going to appear to be real with, at the top, you look for phishing, you look for, the URL. In this case, you won't see a URL. So put in an email like, john@doe.com or whatever you want to put in there. And then just put a password and don't let me see it. Okay, so from here, it just says now total creds 1. And now I have john@pentester.com, and then I got the password test1337 !
Wow. Careful, guys. Careful out there. People are hacking your shit. Oh, man. What's up, Jay Soto? How's it going? Apple pie Oreos. What is that? Never heard of such a thing. Dang. Legion Defense said no. I don't know if are you talking about the free Wi-Fi, or are you talking about pumpkin spice lattes? That's what I want to know. Guys, cannot be careful enough. That is the main takeaway here. This is a story that's been kind of breaking into the news today. We'll play this for you.
Talk about how historic these tariffs have been bringing revenue, additional revenue for our country. You've also mentioned before they could possibly replace federal income tax. Possibly. Do you think
Talking about tariff revenue replacing income tax. We're going to kind of break down the numbers here in a second.
you think that's
Someday it's possible. It used to be. So if you go back to 1913 is when they ended tariffs. We were the richest ever from 1850. It was all tariffs. We didn't have income taxes. From 1850 to 1913. In the 1887s, about 1887, they had the Great National Tariff Act. And it was a group of people that got together because our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. We had so much money, they didn't know what to do. It was a group of very prominent people that were set up to hand out money to everybody.
Well, how times have changed, Yeah, we got rid of income tax because of tariffs, but we also didn't have $39 trillion in debt and $1 trillion in interest every year. So that does beg the question. I mean, can this work? Can we replace income tax with tariff revenue? Well, we just posted our highest revenue generation from tariffs ever, $30 billion in August. Highest monthly total ever, okay, according to Reuters. Let's just extrapolate that out. Let's just go on the high end. Let's say that we get to 50 billion in tariff revenue once all the tariffs are in full effect, putting us at 600 billion a year. Well, the total income from personal income tax, individual income tax, is about $2.4 trillion. So even going to the high end, that's 600 billion, we are a far cry from being able to offset the amount that we bring in from personal income tax. And arguably, we should be taxing people more, particularly the top 1%. Probably corporate taxes, to be honest, though, because the corporations don't pay nearly enough. I mean, you look at this. Corporations pay about $530 billion. So let's say we don't tax or remove income taxes for everyone. So I looked at, okay, what do the top 5% of earners pay in income tax? Well, roughly about, 60%? Yeah, 61% come from the top 5%. So we get a little bit closer there. That'd be about $1 trillion if we knocked out anything below that. So I think there is a case to be made that the current tariff revenue could be something they float to eliminate taxes for people making under $150,000. I think the math actually could work there, which would be pretty fascinating. We do remember, though, it's not like we have a lot of money to give out, considering we are running a budget deficit, okay, in a big one at that. So I think it's a pie in the sky. It's fun to talk about, but I don't know that the numbers work out. If it was something they were going to do, I believe they would float it for maybe someone making under 100,000, under 150,000. Certainly not for everyone. Okay. I just don't think the math works. That said, let's talk about the next story, guys. He said PSL for sure. Bro, get some pumpkin spice lattes, guy. What are y'all doing? What are you doing out here? Are you even living? Stop spending money on stupid shit. Yeah, spending's a problem. No doubt about it, man. There's a lot of government waste, a lot of wasteful spending. Unfortunately, I think we put ourselves in a position now where we likely need to increase tax income and cut spending. I don't think it's one or the other at this point. We've got ourselves in quite a predicament with what we've done to get us here. Look, Anthropic has raised $13 billion at $103 billion valuation, triple what it was worth earlier this year. I covered this a little bit yesterday. This is wild, though, and I did not know that Sam Bankman-Fried invested $500 million of customer deposits in Anthropic. That stake was liquidated when they went through their bankruptcy. Of course, we're talking about FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. Liquidated for $1.3 billion during bankruptcy to repay customers. Guys, that stake would be worth over $14 billion today. Ouch. I don't think anyone's questioning that SBF was a smart guy. Okay. You could say he's brilliant, actually, but he certainly mishandled customer funds. There's no doubt about that. And did seem like there was some shady stuff going on there, guys. They're doing things they shouldn't do, but the guy certainly is brilliant, but man, that hurts. $14 billion. That would have more than covered all the money that was lost had they been able to hold on to those funds. Speaking of the top AI models, Anthropic obviously being one of the LLMs, AI models out there. Looking at the end of the year, the expectation for which company will have the best AI model, right now, Google still leading the way, XAI, and second, OpenAI with ChatGPT. You have Anthropic making some waves there. I had some people asking, how do they judge this? And I actually wondered it myself. Apparently, there's this website you can go. You can prompt these different LLMs. You can vote which ones are the best on different parameters. And that is how they determine which ones are the best. And I thought this was interesting. So when it comes to text prompts, you got Gemini at the top. When it comes to web development, ChatGPT is at the top. Text to image, you got Gemini and Vision, and so on and so forth. So I guess people go in there, they're going in and they're prompting these things. They're voting on the best models. So that is how they're determining which will be the leader. But the AI race is on. We're going to talk more about that, obviously, in this session. Guys, Crypto.com making some big news recently. I know our boy Suburban Crypto's been keeping an eye on it. He's got a little bit of a hold in there. Guys, they're talking about that Crypto.com might IPO. So this is what they had to say about that.
To admit, it's quite tempting to consider these options, given how richly the market values crypto companies these days. We certainly have the numbers to do so. We've done about 1.5 billion in revenue last year, about $1 billion in gross profit, reinvested about 700 million of it, so let's say 300 million net profitability. This year, I think it's going to be better, especially if we see the Fed rate cut and a strong Q4 following. So we have the numbers, and we've been approached by all the top names in terms of the investment banks. We want to be a very well-run company, so we are working on preparing everything, but no decisions have been made at this point. We think.
All right, so no decisions yet, but could they be the next Coinbase? I think they could, guys. I think they could. And this is, of course, coming off the heels of Trump Media Group announcing this $6 billion deal to buy Crypto.com tokens. We covered this. Since that happened, the CRO token up over around 100%, okay, over the last month. So it seemed quite a run. Could it go higher? Probably. I think it absolutely could. It's not one I'm necessarily adding bags to at this point. I think there's a lot of other opportunities that I'm more interested in. But if you had been able to hop on that right when we covered that news, yeah, you would have doubled your bags, guys, for sure. And if they do IPO, could it go higher? I think so. I think so. Crypto.com is one of the leading exchanges in the US. Of course, Coinbase kind of the leader. Coinbase kind of sucks, though, guys. The fees are atrocious. And I feel like Crypto.com has certain tokens that Crypto.com won't list. Arweave being one of them. Arweave, if you are an Arweave holder, I mean, that's where I always add to my Arweave bags is on Crypto.com. It's a solid exchange, for sure. For sure. Let's do our Solana update, and then we are going to dig into the energy side of things when it comes to the AI race. DeFi Development Corp, DFDV. We've been talking a lot about this. They are hinting at more acquisition of Solana, guys. The Solana Treasury company race is on. I think we're going to see a lot more added to that list. Let's see. What did DFDV do today? Up just 2.4 or 0.24%. It's been on quite a run though since we first started covering it. I think these plays are going to do really well, especially into Q4 as we see the rotation. As we see the market structure bill passed, we see the Solana spot ETFs pass. Institutional money is going to flow in. Of course, we don't know what we'll see in the next couple of weeks. There's job reports coming out. We could see downward revisions. Goldman Sachs, we've covered this, but they're expecting a downward revision on the annual jobs added that's coming up on September 9th. Okay, less than a week away. 450 to 950,000 jobs. Okay, so what do we see there? What does that number end up being? We could see some downward pressure before things break to the upside, but I think Q4 is going to be very solid. The other thing that was announced today, Galaxy Digital to launch their SEC registered tokenized GLXY. Guess what? They're doing on Solana. Solana. The building's taking place on Solana. The liquidity is going to Solana. We are seeing more and more announcements of things taking place on Solana, guys. It seems so obvious. And of course, what's the token doing? We started talking about this a lot when it was about $170. Sitting at almost $210. It has held up so well compared to the rest of the markets. I think we have very bright times ahead. Again, I know I called this not financial advice, but my expectation is that we could absolutely see new all-time highs before the end of the year. And I do strongly believe that it's my highest conviction play at the moment. Outside, I think what we'll see, if we see a lot of institutional flow, new all-time highs in Solana, the Solana holders are going to rotate into other projects built on Solana. A lot of the deep end projects that we cover every day are built on Solana. I think this bodes well for deep in and our Solana bags, Solana treasury companies. It's where I have a lot of capital parked at the moment. That's what we're looking at. Woo! Solana or LBXC? That's a good question. I am pretty heavily into UpXC. I got DFDV as my second largest holding. STSS, I'm a little bitter about that. Tyler knows. I tried to get into that position yesterday and my freaking purchase order didn't go through. What the hell, man? But will we see a nice drop to get a bag? Maybe it got up to like almost $13 earlier. It got over $13 earlier. Man. Oh man, I saw this report as well, Tyler. There's a report that came out earlier that there's more people currently unemployed than there are current job openings. So not great, guys. Not great. You said it's back down. I might have an entry point. Yeah, I might have to. Oh yeah, look at it down after market to 1156. I might have to add a bag tomorrow. I like this one. So they announced that they were going to add, I think, was it $400 million in Solana? Like what? They got to issue shares, so there's going to be some dilution there. But these treasury companies in Solana, I think could be a big winner looking at Q4. All right, guys, let's talk about the main part of the show today, and that, of course, is the energy conundrum that we are in, and how China is kicking our butts, man. This is not good. A lot of people are talking about, the supply chain of the GPUs, and I get it. NVIDIA, well, they outsource to TSMC, of course. NVIDIA is the leading company when it comes to the chips that are used to construct these GPUs that are powering the whole AI movement. We have restrictions on what they can ship to China. We don't want them to have the best of the best. We want to win the AI race. But unfortunately, that might not be the biggest limiting factor. Okay. I believe this is what we need to be paying attention to. And this, of course, is the electrical grid. And look at what China has done, guys. This upward trajectory is absolutely wild. Everyone else is just kind of like, India is the only one that's really climbing. But they have 1.4 billion people. They have the same amount of people as China, and they are well behind. The U.S., we've just kind of been stagnant here. And this is a big problem for the U.S. We are going to get to a point in the next year or two where this becomes a big topic, and it's going to be, I believe, one of the biggest limiting factors. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? Where are the investment opportunities? So what I did is I took a look at what China's doing. How is China getting their energy? How are they doing it? Well, coal is by far and large the biggest contributor to their power. I don't think the U.S. is going to start all of a sudden utilizing coal again. I will say, though, I was listening to a podcast about this, and they said that coal mining companies could actually be an interesting choice to invest in, because China has been accumulating a ton of coal. And they likened it to what we saw with lead back in the 80s. So the U.S. stopped mining for lead, and the rest of the world continued to, and it caused shortages. I think we can see the same thing with coal. These other countries, the U.S. is trying not to use coal. They're trying to do the right thing for the environment. China's just like, we don't really give a shit. We're going to keep mining coal anyway. And that is why I think some of these emerging countries, I think coal actually, from a global perspective, is not a bad investment, as crazy as that sounds. But the ones I'm really looking at are uranium, because of nuclear. And how about that? Suburban Crypto in the house. You're right, sir. Solar is the other one I'm looking at. I'm gonna break down some of the investments I'm looking at. I'm gonna break down some articles as well. But one last thing on the coal front, I think this is pretty wild. China has not just refused to stop. They're not slowing down. They're actually speeding up. Their construction of new coal power plants reached a 10-year high in 2024. In fact, in 2023, China accounted for 95% of the world's new coal construction. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, we're all over here like, hey, we got to, stop our emissions. And China just does not care. You know why? Because they understand that the AI movement is coming and how important power is going to be. They're also, I will say, making a huge move towards electric vehicles. Okay. And the drain on the grid for those is massive. But they see the writing on the wall. Now, we're not going to play by those games, by those rules. I guarantee it. So I don't expect, you never know with Trump. You never know. We could all of a sudden have a bunch of new coal plants. I just don't see it happening. But what about nuclear? Well, China is expected to double their nuclear power capacity by 2040. Okay. China says doubling by 2040, making it by far the world's largest nuclear power generator. Roughly half of the 61 nuclear reactors currently under construction worldwide are located in China. That is pretty staggering. And I thought this article is very interesting because it gives us some insight in what we're seeing in the U.S. It says AI experts return from China stunned. U.S. grid is so weak the race may already be over. That's pretty dire. It goes on to say that the data center building is the foundation of AI advancement, and spending on new centers now displaces consumer spending in terms of impact to the U.S. GDP. Of course, we're seeing this in the stock market, guys. Like, what you have the Magnificent Seven, Magnificent Eight holding everything up. Well, NVIDIA is up there. All these companies that are investing heavily into AI infrastructure, they're keeping the market up, right? So this is not a shock. I did say this is concerning since consumer spending is generally 2/3 of the pie when it comes to U.S. GDP. Projects that between 2025 and 2030, companies worldwide will need to invest $6.7 trillion into new data center capacity. That is a freaking massive number. Okay. Follow the money. What do we talk about all the time? Follow the money. They did warn of a looming correction of the S&P 500 since it forecasts this data center capital expenditures boom will be a one-off build-out of infrastructure while consumer spending is clearly on the wane. So That's the big question. How long is this boom of these AI data centers being built out? Obviously, in the coming years, it's expected to continue, but how long will that continue? It says the clear limiting factor of the U.S.'s data center infrastructure development, according to Deloitte, is stress on the power grid. Cities' power grids are so weak that some companies are building their own power plants rather than relying on existing grids. Yeah. Nope, not me. Sorry, my front desk just asked if I ordered groceries. I did not order groceries. So I want to dig in more on these companies that are building out their own power plants. Nuclear power, the tech giant's desperate gamble for AI. Says this is wild. Every ChatGPT prompt uses a server that performs thousands of calculations requiring a lot of electricity to run and cool. 100-word email generated by ChatGPT uses 0.414 kilowatt hours, or the equivalent of running 14 LED bulbs for 1 hour. Just one email that you generate. And think about how much of this is happening all day, every day. Okay, just to put this into perspective, how much electric is being used. So another proof comes from Google's latest environmental report, which shows a 48% rise in carbon emissions, largely due to these AI data centers. The power needs are so freaking massive, guys. So tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, the big boys, are investing in nuclear energy to meet their growing energy needs. Goes on to talk about these. So with Google, says they're increasing numbers of server and data centers worldwide are exploding exponentially. Okay. They're building these. So these SMRs, they're called small modular reactors. So they're not like your normal huge nuclear facilities. They're building these kind of smaller facilities that are about a fourth of the size. It allows them to bring it on a little bit faster and allows them to scale as they need it. But these individual companies, instead of relying on the electric companies, they're building out their own nuclear plants. It's freaking crazy. Says that their first, of course, Google, their first SMR will go live by 2030. So this is a key thing when I'm looking at the solar side of things. Even these smaller ones, and this has been in the plans for a while, they still take, guys, like, 5+ years to build. And I would imagine this has been in the plans for a while. I know the older nuclear plants took like 15 years to build, 15 to 20 years, and like 10 years to decommission the freaking thing after their useful life. So this is not something that they can just scale up right away. And the first one of these is not coming online to 2030. This power issue is going to happen a lot sooner than 2030. Okay. It says they have 5 additional reactors 5 years later. So 2035. So while this is happening, it's not going to happen overnight. Amazon says their deal with Energy Northwest will see them deploy 4 advanced SMRs in Washington. Shout out to Bob in Washington, which by the early 2030s will generate up to 960 megawatts of power. They have another company, X Energy, that Amazon is investing, developing capacity to develop more of these SMRs. Again, this is all nuclear, guys. Support 5 gigawatts of nuclear energy projects. That's pretty big. 5 gigawatts, that's a big deal. There's another one. SMR develop near Dominion's existing. So, guys, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they inked a deal to restart one of their units. They're putting $16 billion into it. $16 billion all into nuclear. So where's the investment opportunity here? Well, the one that I have investment in is Next Gen Energy. I'm going to read an excerpt from this book that I read. I've cited this before. It says that Next Gen has some meaningful supply, talking about uranium, that will come online in 2028 and 2029. There's still some approvals needed, but it controls 300 million pounds of future reserves as one of the top acquisition targets. Says that the stock could be worth between $15 to $18. Currently, it's $7.87. strong balance sheet, 3.2 billion equity market cap, 140 million in cash, 78 million in debt. At the time of this writing, this is at 495, so it's up quite a bit already. But guys, this is an obvious choice in my opinion. And I'm looking again to diversify a bit. Obviously I have a lot of crypto investments. I have a lot of tech investments, a lot of other investments too, my traditional IRAs. But this is something that, if we see a big run up in Q4, taking some profits, not a bad idea to diversify into some energy infrastructure plays. And this is one I'm definitely looking at. I have a position, but I would like to expand that position for sure. But this is one I'm looking at. Talking about spot uranium prices, currently at $76. This is projected to go up to as much as $150 in the next 2 years. Okay. So how do you play that? Well, you could look at this uranium ETF. What are they up on the year? 70% on the year already. But guys, this nuclear situation is not going anywhere. Trump also, I believe, signed an executive order getting nuclear back in the fold. Let me just search that. Actually, I didn't bring that up. Order nuclear. I believe he did. Let's see here. There's an article here. I don't want to read through it while I'm live here, but new executive order that have an impact on nuclear energy. So they are deploying nuclear reactor technologies for national security is the most comprehensive of the four. So, guys, nuclear energy is going to be big. It's going to be big. But the problem with nuclear energy, of course, is that, as we just talked about, it takes a long time to bring these online. So what are the other options? Well, we know that solar is out there, and as Suburban said, how much solar do we need to catch up? Need a lot. This article just came out within the last month, I believe, last 5 weeks or so. It says the new clean energy regime can be summarized in one incredible statistic. China installed more wind and solar power in a single year than the total amount of renewable energy operating in the U.S. Guys, you can get solar farms online very quickly compared to any other energy source. And that's why I believe solar could have a major comeback here. It says the spending law Trump signed earlier this month kneecaps clean energy tax credits for wind and solar. So he did absolutely crush these stocks. And that is why I think they are really interesting to look at right now, because all of the solar stocks have been absolutely decimated this year. And there's another article I want to touch on here. It says, meanwhile, China is currently building 510 gigawatts. Holy shit. That's insane. 510 gigawatts of utility scale solar and wind capacity, according to Global Energy Monitor, would be added to their already 1.4 terawatts. I believe terawatts, yeah. So 1,400 gigawatts. 5 times what's operating in the U.S. Okay. Well, I did some searching. I came across this article. This just came out in the last week. Can solar power the AI boom? It says artificial intelligence and the hyperscale data centers that support it so compute and power hungry that the existing U.S. grid is straining to keep it up and may soon be unable to meet demand. So far, the conversation has revolved around nuclear and natural gas. Okay, so I do agree. I think nuclear is great. But one overlooked source is starting to show real potential power, and that's solar energy. Multiple catalysts are aligning that could finally make solar a serious contender to help fuel the AI revolution, and savvy investors are beginning to take notice. How about that? Okay, so a couple of companies they did mention in this. Number one was SolarEdge. So SolarEdge does not make panels, but they make the inverters that are necessary. So these panels produce DC energy. They have to be converted to AC. SolarEdge has been beaten down amid margin pressure and slowing residential demand, but their shares trading at depressed valuations, demand for utility scale investors, it will likely rebound. Again, the solar stocks to be looking at here are the ones tied to utility scale, the large scale. solar farms, not residential. I think residential is effed. Okay. There's a short period of time residential might still be okay before all the tax credits run out, but the utility scale is what to be looking at here. So Solar Edge is one. Next, tracker. So these are tracking the racks that all the solar panels are attached to that track the sun. So this is an interesting one as well. And then one other one that I know from personal experience is First Solar. They're big in the utility scale solar side of things. Currently down 5% over the last year. This could absolutely be a buy. And if you follow the money, this just came out today, actually. Says that Long Focus Capital Management purchased a new position in First Solar during the first quarter. It just came out in the recent filing. They purchased 70,000 shares for $8.85 million. It says other hedge funds and other institutional investors are recently making change to their positions. All of these, the Centra Investment Advisors added. You have Oppenheimer added. Okay, goes down this whole list. It says all of these added to their positions of First Solar. I think people are beginning to take notice. Okay, and that is why I believe uranium and solar are going to be very solid plays. We're going to have to add capacity, guys. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. So those are the investments I'm looking at on the infrastructure side. But what about the crypto side? I brought this up a couple times. How about this? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on his official account here. We are exploring new possibilities in decentralized computing and digital payments to unlock the potential of blockchain technology. Huh. Well, how about that? Well, why would that be? Well, for one, accessibility is an issue. Let's be real. You have the Metas of the world. You have the Googles of the world. They're buying up all the NVIDIA GPUs. They're building out the data centers. Okay. For AI startups, not great for them. Okay. Very inflexible contract terms with those big players. Very cost prohibitive. Like, good luck to the smaller players. Medium-sized businesses aren't able to get in there and not able to get that compute access. The other thing, though, I think ties into the power shortages, guys. They can only build out so many data centers that the power issue is going to be real. So how about tap into the idle compute resources that are already sitting there plugged in? I think they know what's happening here. Okay. I think that's a big part of this. Decentralized computing is going to be big. Tapping into the compute that's already there. Okay. And that is why I believe the decentralized compute side of DePIN is going to be the big winner. I think there's plenty of opportunities out there, of course. But let's talk about a couple of these protocols. Of course, guys, we've talked about this one ad nauseum, but I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about it till I'm blue in the freaking face because no one else is talking about it. I don't know why. Exhibits, guys. They're building out massive data centers. Follow them. I've had them on my show several times now. I'm going to have them on again in the next month. They got some big announcements coming. Could it be about their token launch? Maybe it could be. I believe they're going to be on Solana. There's a trend here, guys. Solana. Check this out. They're building out these AI data centers all over the world. US, Europe, Asia. Okay. Guess who else they're partnered with? You might recognize some of these names on here. Render, Akash, IONET, Aether. They just announced Asana. I don't know if they've updated their website yet. They've got Asana now too. When it comes to compute in the crypto space, Exhibit is going to be the leader when it comes to high-end compute. Okay. 100%. Okay. The token launch is coming soon. We'll have some more details on that soon. The other one I'll talk about, USD.ai. Okay. Tyler knows all about this. In fact, let's play this video. This is a short clip they posted earlier with our boy Tyler unleashing DePIN. Sorry, the audio's not coming through. I gotta reshare this. Sorry, guys. Sometimes the browser loses the audio. Here we go. Here we go. We got it. Sorry, you had to listen to me guzzling water while there's no volume. That is ridiculous. Here we go. Now the audio should come through.
These guys are going to fund the build out of a shit ton of data centers with GPUs because the lending rates are very favorable. Your expansion capabilities are very favorable, and you can get access to them as sort of a retail style investor. The market opportunity for what they're doing is in the hundreds of billions, if not trillions. And I think as a first mover who's got a really, really freaking smart team, and obviously they've got the traction to prove what they're doing, they will be one of the first $1 billion revenue generating deep.
So is the
Guys, did he say hundreds of billions to $1 trillion? Like, for real though, this project's going to be huge. Make sure it's on your radar. Exhibits is going to be behemoth. USD.ai. Right now, you can stake with them. Can we share the tab? Come on, man. I gotta reshare. Hold on. Things are messed up here. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Staking. Says the expected is 11.65%. I was looking at this. Here we go. So, they have 2.5 million going to these NVIDIA B200s, 1.9 going to here on this one. So APR, the blended APR, 11.65% or up here, I guess. So if you stake on their site, guys, and they are on Arbitrum, so it is a layer 2 on Ethereum, not like a super popular chain, but if you do stake on there, you can get a very good yield. And I don't know if there's any official word about a token launch or anything of that like that, but in a lot of cases in these types of protocols, if you stake and you're early adopter, if they do end up launching a token, you can get an airdrop. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but you don't necessarily need it because the yield is ridiculous, guys. I think that this is such a massive market, and this is one you have to keep your eyes on, guys. Absolutely have to keep your eyes on. Follow their page, by the way, because they are dropping new announcements constantly. They only have 11,500 followers, man. This project's going to be huge. Make sure to follow them. Make sure to follow Exhibits. And I have some other honorable mentions. Nosana, another GPU project. So these GPU projects serve as like the Uber or Lyft for GPU resources, right? If you are a business that has a data center, you have GPUs that you're not using 100% of the time, you have idle capacity, you can now create a new revenue stream by renting out your GPU capacity. This Nosana serves as a marketplace. They connect your GPU resources with people that need it. Okay. And that is what's driving the token price. Nosana, all these projects are generating a lot of revenue. When you see the potential, obviously we have the AI data centers being built out. Okay, well, there you go. There will be an ICO. 30% is going as an airdrop to stakers. Boom. That seems like a freaking no-brainer. Okay, that is absolutely wild. USD.ai, guys. USD.ai. Nosana, sitting at a $21.95 million market cap. You know what this thing got up to? Like $7 in spring of 2024. These deep in projects built on Solana, if we see these two catalysts, the market structure bill, we see the spot ETFs get approved, we see the institutional capital flowing into Solana. I think these GPU projects, you have Scott Bessent, the freaking Treasury Secretary, saying, hey, we need to look at decentralized compute projects. Like, are we missing something here? I don't like, come on. It just seems like a no-brainer. These projects should absolutely go ballistic. So Nosana, very far down from where it was. I mean, you were looking for people looking for a good buy, a good entry point, like I don't know how much longer you want to wait. IONET, it's another one built on Solana, sitting at 53 cents. What did this thing get up to? Over $5 this token launch? Okay. A little bit higher market cap, 108 million, but they're generating real revenue, guys. Real revenue. Render, probably the most well-known one. They have a pretty large market cap already, but let's pull it up anyway. $3.49. This thing got up to like $12. Still 1.81 billion. They've got some serious backers, though. No doubt about it. But I believe ION and Asana have a lot more upside from their current market cap. No doubt about that. And I will throw another one in for honorable mention. It's not built on Solana, but they are doing big things. And that, of course, is a cash network. They are, I believe, built on Cosmos. But this one is available on Coinbase. This thing has absolutely crushed it as well and way off of its all-time high. They're generating a lot of revenue. All these are generating revenues in, the tens of millions of dollars. So worth a look when you pull it all together, when you look at the fact that, the AI data centers, the AI movement, the lack of power, the freaking Treasury Secretary saying, hey, we're going to have to rely on decentralized compute. Well, here you fucking go. Okay, like, here you go. It just seems like an obvious thing to me. But you guys have to look into it, decide what you think. Obviously, it's not financial advice. I am happy to share where I have my placements, where I have my investment. Doesn't mean I'm right. I don't have a crystal ball, guys. So that's just the research I did for the show today. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed it. A little bit later than normal. Had a pretty good turnout today, though, man. I feel like we get a lot. I'm on X and Rumble and YouTube, so I have a good mix of people from all the different platforms. But guys, some exciting times ahead. Next couple weeks, we'll have to wait and see what happens to the job reports. But I think the rates getting cut. One thing's become very clear. Retail is expecting that to be a very bullish situation. Okay. I think the smart money realizes that maybe might not be as bullish as people are thinking it will be. Doesn't mean the markets can't rally, but the question is like how long? Because I'll tell you this: if the Fed cuts rates and long-term yields, or 10 or 30-year yields continue to rise like we saw last year, people are going to start freaking out. The Fed has lost control of the bond market. We need to see that driven down. And the funny part about all that is all these people, there's so many anti-crypto people. The genius bill with the stablecoin issuers could actually be the saving grace for the US dollar. I was talking to Tyler about this the other day. They're going to have to buy short-term US debt to issue stablecoins. T-bills, anything a year or less is a T-bill, anything, longer than that would be a treasury. Okay. We have now with stablecoin issuers a consistent buyer every year of our debt. So that actually could mean that the U.S. doesn't have to issue as much long-term debt and they can rely on these stablecoin issuers. That's a very good thing, because if we don't have to issue as much long-term debt, that means that we can actually drive yields down because we don't have an oversupply of long-term bonds. So again, in a whole roundabout way, the crypto industry and the stablecoin issuers and stablecoins in general could actually be the saving grace for the US dollar, extend the US dollar's role as the reserve currency on the global scale, at least for an extended period of time. I think eventually someone's going to have to get back to a gold standard or a Bitcoin standard. I don't think that this fiat fiasco can go on forever. All the reckless spending, all the bullshit, man. There's no way. There's no way. Have you seen the chart, by the way, of gold versus the US dollar? That's all you need to see. Is US dollar is going to continue to be printed into oblivion. Gold and Bitcoin. Gold and Bitcoin. Okay. But I still think, as we covered today, there's plenty of opportunity around this AI boom to take advantage of decentralized compute on the energy side. And that's what I have for you this evening. Appreciate every single one of you. I'll be on tomorrow, and then I am actually out of town Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So tomorrow will be my last session of the week. I will see you then. Have a nice evening, y'all. Peace.